It takes a special kind of resolve to keep walking through 2 days and 2 nights, especially if you go close to the 48-hour time limit for the 100 miles. But to plan to do it, that takes a special kind of psychological mettle. And Keith Warman evidently has got it. Keith.
Hello, Simon.
How long are you going to take for this walk?
Well, 47 hours, I should think. 47 to 47 and a half.
You've got a schedule?
I have. And I draw up a schedule each year so that I get an idea of whether I'm sort of behind or in front. So if I'm a bit in front, I know that I've got some in hand and I can relax and know that if there's any unforeseen eventuality, I've not got to worry about the time. And if I'm getting close to my schedule, then I know I've got to keep an eye on the watch a little bit and just make sure I don't overstay at checkpoints and just keep moving at a steady tortoise pace.
How does it feel now, though, knowing that you're going to go right the way through another night?
Absolutely fine. I planned for it. I'm not a fast walker. Most people will know that. But hopefully I'm a steady walker. And
but you have done a lot of these, because there was a presentation at the start of the weekend.
This is a special award for one of our members, Keith Warman. And before I give Keith his special award, I just want to tell you a little bit about Keith. He's one of the unsung heroes of the LDWA, and he looks after our hundreds database. So when one is an organiser of the 100-mile walk or the entry secretary, you work closely with Keith because he keeps all the statistics and details of every single one of you with regards to your entries on the 100. And he's the person who then provides the details of who is due an award. Well, in 2020, Keith was due an award himself. And because COVID came along, he couldn't enter the Cancer Bunwe. But last year in 2021, he successfully walked his 30th LDWA 100-mile walk. So 2021 was Keith's 30th, so congratulations, Keith.
I've been fortunate enough to finish 30 official hundreds, and I've retired on just 2. So yes, I'm in exalted company when you look at the list of walkers who have achieved that milestone. I believe there are 17 of us currently.
And you're actually the man who knows, aren't you?
Yes, I'm the LDWA's hundreds recorder, so I look after the hundreds register, which basically is a list of everyone who's done 100 and which hundreds they've done and their times, and it gives me other information like average ages and things like that. So,
are we in for any records this weekend? Ages, anything like that?
Well,
oldest female?
Oldest female was last year, which was Jill Green.
And she's still walking now?
And she's walking now.
We're not very agile now, I'm afraid.
So she might improve on her record of most senior female, should she finish this weekend. I believe we have 2 or 3 entrants who are 80 years old plus. Whether they started or not, I'm unsure. But the record for the oldest finisher of 100 is 81 3/4 years. And a few people have been getting close to that in the last few years, but nobody's quite got there. And that is the inimitable Henry Bridge. And if you read the current April 22 Strider, I penned an article about Henry and his achievements, and he set his record 81 3/4 30 years ago this year. So he really was ahead of his time, and it won't be long, I'm sure, before somebody exceeds his fabulous achievement. I'm not sure if there are any other records. One that does amaze me is the number of finishers who are aged 70 or over, and that has been growing historically exponentially. And I haven't got the figures on the top of my head, plus you'll have to excuse me, I'm a little tired at the moment, but it runs into about 300 or 400 over 70 finishes in history of the hundreds, and about 120 different people.
How's that?
Yeah, close shot of knackered. So that's something which I do admire. And again, what's that down to? Increased lifespan, improved medications, are the serious 100 years staying fitter for longer? Who knows, perhaps a little of everything. But it's great to see, and it's great to recognise the achievements of the over 70s.
Hi Jerry. How many hundreds is this then?
Well, this is me 25th.
That's basically what I do for the LDWA. It's a backroom job, and I love doing it, and I hope that I'll be able to keep doing it for a few more years yet until they put me out to grass.
In fact, Jill Green was one of 4 octogenarians who set out on the Trans-Pennine 100, none of them quite old enough to claim Henry Bridges' crown. Their determination to keep going in very testing conditions makes a compelling story. Sandra Brown completed her 210th walking event of 100 miles or more, extending her own female world record.
It was wonderful, magical as always.
And Keith did indeed trudge steadily on for another 14.5 hours, on the final leg keeping step with Len Fallick on his slow plod to become the 3rd person ever to complete 40 LDWA hundreds. Keith was the last to walk through the door at the finish, with just 15 minutes to spare.
Bloody well done. That was a tough. Nothing.
Keith was just reminding me, when I presented him with his 20th hundredth badge, I said Keith had just finished his 20th hundred if his records are to be believed.
You found that quite a privilege, I think, to do that last walk.
I did.
Yeah.
The last stage with Len, yeah.
Yeah. You've walked with him before.
Yes, many times, yeah. I met him around about 2007, on the 100 in 2007.
You've got a story about walking with a fellow Kent member, Jimmy Oddie, and the time you met a young girl who knew that you'd walked a long way.
Yes. She knew about the 100, and she knew that it was coming through her village, and she was looking out for walkers as they came by, and Jimmy and I came by, and she was there on her drive playing with her scooter, and she called out to us and said hello, and said, "Are you still walking?" And Jimmy, who was rather fond of children, very proudly said, "Yes, we are." This was about 75 miles. "Yes, we are," he said. She looked at him quite seriously. I can't think she would have been more than about 7 or 8, and simply said, "Why?"
What's your take on that?
We were speechless, and for Jimmy that was quite a rare thing.
Because actually, the reasons to do this, what is the why?
We don't know the why. None of us know really. It's a crazy, peculiarly British thing. Is the 100. It's rather unique in that it's not a race. It's a self-proving, self-competitive happening.
Personal challenge.
There are no prizes. The person who comes in last is equally as important as the person who comes in first. The person who comes in first will come back to a hall, an empty hall, on the Sunday afternoon. The person who comes in last will come back to a full hall on the Monday morning and get a rousing reception. And for those who have to pull out for whatever reason, there is absolutely no disgrace, and there's no egotism about it at all. It's a perfect leveller, as is the LDWA generally.
That's pretty impressive, isn't it? Fancy getting one of those?
You put me on the spot, haven't you?